Hey, good evening, Wixman Ray. Once again, I don't have my microphone set up, so sorry. Um, I haven't had time to dig that out and figure that out. Ooh, I pressed something here. Sorry. There we go. All right. Hey, today is what are we on? Thursday, right? Thursday, May 21st. I'm losing track of the days. Thursday, May 21st, 2026. It is 7:21 p.m. Central Time. I got this stopped because the sun's gonna start setting out here on the East Coast, so I want you to be able to see this depiction, satellite depiction here of the RGB. Um, so we got a wave out here, kind of skirting the Pacific Northwest area, mainly just clouds. I think most of the precipit's up in Canada. We have another wave, more significant wave out here across the northern Rockies, causing some showers and thunderstorms out through here. It's probably two waves, one up in Montana and one back here, like in Wyoming, Colorado area. Either way, it's a lot of activity going on. And then another little wave supporting these thunderstorms out here in eastern New Mexico, eastern Colorado. So we got a lot of thunderstorms out here on the high plains here, like we were talking about yesterday. Got a little bit of activity out here in southwest Texas. Um, there's just a lot of energy coming up out of the southwest, out of Mexico. Um, so you got some energy kicking off those storms. Then you got another short wave out here in Texas kicking off all this thunderstorm activity back, and that wave extends up into like Kansas and Oklahoma and a little farther north up here towards Iowa. Mostly clouds. I think most of the rain's in the southern portion. It's been cloudy all day here in Kansas City, but not really much in the way of rainfall. And then we got another wave down here across East Texas with this blob of clouds, I'll call it, with the showers and thunderstorms across a good part of the south here down through the Gulf here. And then we got some isolated storms across Florida and southern Georgia. That's just with the daytime heating. I don't really think there's any kind of wave down there supporting that. And then this is that frontal boundary that kind of is just kind of hung up here through the mid-Atlantic. It looks like a few showers, maybe a couple isolated storms, but mostly looks like rain from this depiction. And then quite a bit of clouds extend up towards the northeast. I don't think there's much rain though going on, but we'll take a look at our radar and make sure I'm not lying to you about that. So very active, multiple waves, especially here across the northern Rockies through the center part of the country here. And we still got this front kind of hung up here. But things will change concerning that front here over the next day or two. All right. Uh, Looking at our surface obs here. Um, yeah, it looks like a little bit of that rain's kind of trying to sneak into northern Washington, but for the most part, pretty nice. 75 in Seattle, 84 in Portland, pretty warm, 88 in Medford. So it's definitely warming up today compared to what it's been the last couple days. 60s and 70s across Idaho. Looks like it's pretty dry. A few showers up in Montana. Looks like 50s and 60s. Got some cooler air sitting over. That almost looks like a low pressure the way it's spinning. Yeah, I'd say there's a low with that wave that I said that was over Wyoming. Get some 40s and even some 30s. So there's probably some snow in some areas out here. So definitely got some precipitation across Wyoming in the form of probably rain and snow. Um, yeah, we'll talk about this in a minute here. Well, let's not skip over the rest of this. Um, we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's go back to California. Got a few showers, it looks like, up over the higher terrain and the Sierras here in California, but very hot. Getting some 90s back in here through the Central Valley, even 90 there, Northern California, Ukiah. Upper 70s farther north. Looks like some 70s across Nevada, 92 in Vegas. Salt Lake City's at 69, so pleasant. there. It looks like a few very isolated showers across southern Utah. Probably not reaching the ground though. Looks pretty weak. 94 in Phoenix. Yeah, so it's warming up out here. Got 70s up at Grand Canyon National Park and northern, the higher elevations up here in Arizona are always cooler, 70s and 80s, and then you get 90s in the south. 79 in El Paso with some showers around there. 80 up in Albuquerque. Then we can get some thunderstorms out here in parts of eastern New Mexico. It looks like some gusty winds too there. Tucumcari, gusting up about 40, 45 miles an hour. Yeah, a few showers and storms across southwest Texas, and then we got more extending north, so very active. We got a severe warning there in eastern New Mexico out there, kind of in no man's land, south of Portales and north of Lovington. I've been through all those towns because I grew up in New Mexico. Looks like you got a few rogue thunderstorms out here in West Texas. Got a pretty good line of them with some severe warnings out there near Dalhart, Texas. Yep, that's Dalhart. Out there in the panhandle of Texas. So looks like that'll mainly be a wind producer. Yeah. So maybe some hail with that, but another severe warning up here in southwest Kansas. So you got a little bit of activity there. Got a couple tornado warnings up here in northeast Colorado, out here in the eastern part, out here in the middle of nowhere of Colorado. A couple tornado warnings out there. Another one farther north here, and so you got some strong to severe storms out here as you get kind of north and east of Denver. Farther back into Colorado, I didn't mention it, but it looks like a lot of rain showers, probably, and snow showers up in the higher elevations. And then those thunderstorms extend up into the Dakotas here. Nothing severe, even into western Nebraska, a little bit farther east in Nebraska too. So very active. You got multiple waves. Them thunderstorms go all the way up into Dickinson. Dickinson, is that how you say it? Yeah, Dickinson, North Dakota. A little bit out here in eastern Montana. And then it kind of quiets down in the 60s back here in Minnesota and back into Wisconsin. A few showers. Looks like a couple showers up in Iowa. In the 60s out there. Kind of same idea. 60s. Missouri and Illinois. You got a little bit of rain across parts of Missouri, down near Joplin and Springfield, and up into northeast portions near Kirksville, Missouri. Got some showers and storms across Oklahoma. Nothing too fantastic there. Quite a bit of showers and storms across, near Austin. We got some thunderstorms. Got a severe warning here south of what's that, Junction, Texas. Yeah, so we got a bunch of thunderstorms out there in parts of Texas, Louisiana, same story. Showers and thunderstorms up into southern Arkansas and all through this, pretty much all this through the southeast. Once you get over to Georgia, they're more isolated. That's that stuff we saw, and some isolated to scattered stuff across Florida there. So, yeah, and then along the front, you're seeing some showers and storms through Kentucky and a little bit of Kentucky, mostly through Tennessee and back into North Carolina and Virginia. Mostly just a rainfall as you get up into West Virginia and Northern Virginia, and back towards Philadelphia and DC area. So looks like the front is hanging through that area. Looks like it rained a little bit up there at JFK Airport, but may have stopped. In the 50s up there into most of the Northeast, so a little bit of a cool down behind the front. Couple of 45s up there in Caribou. So a little bit cooler, some 50s to around 60 in Michigan. Same idea in the 60s, mostly Ohio and Indiana, if I can spit it out. Same thing for Pennsylvania, 50s and 60s. So, cool. All that cooler weather, extends all the way down, I'd say, like to almost to Tennessee and North Carolina. You know, it's 80s down into the southeast here in Florida, same deal. So, but very unsettled pattern, lots of thunderstorms and rain all over the place. So, yeah. So I think that about covers it. We got about every state involved there, for the most part, most of them. So that's all I've got to say about that. We'll go to our GFS model forecast, which is our American model. So this is what's been going on. This is that front. I won't spend a lot of time on this chart, but this is where the front was and all that rain and storms. Lines up pretty well. All those different waves out here across the center part of the country and out west. See that snow out in parts of Colorado and Wyoming that I was talking about. So that's kind of what's going on there. This is right before that. So as we go through tomorrow, so this thing will spin up into a little low pressure and strengthen a little bit as we go into Friday. So probably just a bunch of rain across North Dakota and South Dakota on the northern fringe, but probably showers and thunderstorms across, you know, maybe near Minneapolis, parts of Minnesota down through Nebraska, northern Kansas, and Iowa. And then out here, more isolated thunderstorms. We got a low pressure. We still got little weak waves. This stuff will be a little bit weaker as we go into Saturday. They'll kind of blow up a little bit, but you see a couple waves out here in parts of Texas, and you still got a little bit back in Colorado and New Mexico there too. So, and then a little bit up into the northern Rockies. So just little, these are weaker waves out here, and this is those bigger waves. One, two, about three of them. Probably count four, maybe one there, five. So about 4 to 5 major ones. So yeah, by tomorrow after evening, about this time of night, it's going to look like this, very similar to today. Um, and you get a low pressure that forms along this system, along this front, near like southern Indiana into Kentucky, northern Kentucky. And then you have a warm front setting up across Ohio, Pennsylvania, and over New Jersey and northern or Maryland, that general area. So you'll get a lot of rain, showers, and thunderstorms, and that's going to kind of cover, encompass the mid-Atlantic down through the southeast and even back towards Texas and Arkansas, Louisiana. So yeah, this whole part of the country, I mean, except for say the Northeast and the Great, not the Great, but the Great Lakes. I was thinking Great Plains, but Great Lakes. That'll be, you know, a little bit drier as we go into Friday, at least for that day. And then so we'll kind of spread through time. So this system here will move up to the north and spread into parts of the Great Lakes on Saturday afternoon, evening, spreading across the northeast into Pennsylvania and New York. So you'll get a lot of rain, maybe some thunderstorms on the southern end. And then you can just kind of draw a big line around from Missouri, Kansas, you know, all the way down here to Oklahoma, Texas, and across the entire southeast and Florida with thunderstorms and even towards the mid-Atlantic. So, yeah, there's just going to be, you know, probably one or two or three waves in there. Probably see one, two, probably three or four. Just a lot of energy coming across. This one up here that we saw, that moves up into Canada. So by Saturday, it's pretty much out of here. You might see some lingering effects up there in UP of Michigan, maybe parts of northern Wisconsin, maybe a few showers, maybe a rogue thunderstorm. But yeah, mainly quiet there. So that's for Saturday. It's getting quieter out west. Definitely going to start warming up out there through the weekend. As we go through Sunday here, yeah, you got the ridge. You'll start seeing some afternoon showers popping up out here in the west. You'll get, but that's not any kind of organized system. Kind of the same idea on Sunday. You just got a lot of unsettled weather across the central and eastern part of the country here. Showers and thunderstorms. It looks like this system starts to move offshore, but there'll be some lingering rain across the northeast on Sunday evening. And yeah, so So, and then we'll just cover Monday, going to Monday. So Monday morning, another wave develops, couple pieces of energy combines for the northeast to be wet down through the mid-Atlantic. You still all see all this activity across the southeast through the Ohio Valley and the mid-Atlantic, so just showers and thunderstorms. It's going to be very wet across this part of the country over the next, 3 or 4 days at least, maybe longer. So, pretty wet. Um, I don't know if they're going to see any kind of flooding issues, but something to keep it on. There's going to be the stalled out upper level system too that kind of starts to bring rain out through this part of the country. And you see it mostly pop up in the afternoons here. Yeah, so like on Sunday, pop up a little bit there, and then some Monday. So yeah. Yeah, so that's what it's looking like. Pretty active. It looks like another system comes down out of the west in Canada on late Monday into Tuesday. Got this system that kind of skirts across the northern plains, maybe a little bit back into the central plains. Gets a little more active out west. We actually get a system moving in on Monday and Tuesday, I think, up here, and that's going to spread, out towards the east, towards the middle part of the week. But so it looks pretty wet, pretty unsettled. I don't really see any widespread outbreaks. There's like I've been mentioning the past couple days, there'll be a couple focus areas where there could be some, a couple misbehaving severe storms, but nothing too crazy. And you'll kind of see that as we go into our Storm Prediction Center convective outlook chart here. So for today, they got it along the high plains there, and we saw a couple out there I think it was Colorado, and I think there might have been one in Texas if I remember right, West Texas. A little bit out here in the mid-Atlantic. I didn't recall any severe warnings out though at the time. So you got that going on for today, for the rest of tonight. Tomorrow we still got this area we're watching. They've expanded a little bit up into Kansas and down into northern Texas. So this area will be the main focus with that energy coming out and that little low pressure forming out here in eastern New Mexico, and the little, I guess you could call it convergence zone or warm front, whatever. You're going to see some backing winds with the kind of like a warm frontal structure, so that'll cause a lot of shear for this area. Yeah, and then you got that wave out that's moving out of Texas into the southeast. So yeah, I can see maybe some isolated severe out here possibly. So, but nothing too crazy. Tornado threat looks like it's pretty low. They mainly got it out for that eastern area, wind threat and hail threat. So that's for Friday, and then Saturday, just a couple small areas, West Texas, Panhandle, and down into South Texas with all that energy going through there. Not sure why that popped up. After that, they don't really have anything drawn up. They're not real confident. It could be like this. You might see one or two areas drawn up here and there where there's a little more stronger energy, but not seeing any real pronounced like cold fronts or warm fronts that are going to be a good focus for severe or really strong upper level like short waves, like we saw earlier this month and especially in April. So, and that's kind of normal as we get closer to summer. The systems kind of trend to get a little weaker. The upper level support gets weaker as the jet kind of reorients up near to across the northern part of the U.S. So that's all I've got for today. I guess this is going to be a short video. I'm not going to tell you about the temperatures, and I'm not covering the upper level flow. We did that yesterday, so it's really all I've got for you guys. I apologize if my audio is not the best. I'm doing the best I can. I just have not had time to get my microphone out and screw around with it and try to figure out how that works. Let me put this on a loop for you guys, since you didn't get to see it in a loop. You can watch this while I'm babbling for a minute or two. So yeah, I just wanted to talk to you about this for those who might be new. The purpose of my channel really is, of course, I'm gonna give you. I like to do about 3 to 4 days out. So this is kind of my thinking. So like as you get into the end of the week, Thursday into Friday, I start introducing maybe Monday or Tuesday of the next week, but I really stay focused mainly on the weekend. And I did Monday because we have Memorial Weekend coming up, so you could kind of get an idea of what's going on there. Um, but really, I want to focus on 3 to 4 days. Going out 7 days, this just gets really long, and you know, people used to. I just start getting confused what days it is. And to be honest with you, after about 4 days, the models are hit and miss. Sometimes they do a pretty good job, and most of the time they do pretty well from the say 5 to 7 day. But sometimes they're way out to lunch too, especially as you get to like day 7 or something, day 6 and day 7. So they for the most part they do pretty well. I would say 80% of the time, but there's other percentages where depending on what kind of pattern setting up, especially like patterns like this, it could be way out to lunch. So that's why I kind of keep it like that. So that's one part of my thinking here is I'm trying to keep these 3 to 4 days. As we go through the weekend, as I get into like Saturday, I'll go out till like Wednesday, Tuesday or Wednesday. So that keeps it, around 4 days, maybe 5 days sometimes. And I'll kind of keep that to Tuesday or Wednesday through the weekend. And then as we get into the work week on Monday, that's when I start, okay, I'll go out like through Friday just to kind of give you an outlook for the week. But I try not to go out more than 4 or 5 days, because I used to do that when I started this. But yeah, it just to me it's like you're hearing from me every day, so things sometimes change, sometimes they don't. You can say, hey, he nailed it. He nailed it that day. He nailed it that day. He blew it. He lied that other day. We do lie. Not really. We don't lie intentionally, like maybe politicians, but we are imperfect. We're humans. We're just interpreting the weather. Even with all the experience, that's one thing you learn as a meteorologist. You got to be humble, and you're not gonna always be right. I don't care. You get those young guys that are egotistical. I say guys because they're probably more egotistical than girls, but I've seen them where I'm right, and then the next day, oh crap, you blew your forecast, or you weren't quite as right as you thought you were. Anyways, I'm just jabbering here about this stuff. The other thing I really wanted to say is, besides just focusing on kind of the near term, 3 to 5 days, I I want to educate you guys on weather. That's why I talk about vorticity and isobars and heights and convection and all these terms that you probably will not hear from. You might hear it on some weather forecasts on TV, depending on how high speed they are. But and some of them say some of this stuff, but I'm trying to teach you some stuff, try to get a little more into the details because that's what this channel is all about. Is um, really my vision to when I started this is, once I got going with this, I like, oh, it'd be fun to do a little weather update every day or day or two, however often I can keep up with it. But then I thought, I want to start educating people about weather, especially the young people. I know there's a lot of kids that are interested in science and in meteorology. There's a lot of them out there, believe it or not. And there's a lot of older people that are very interested. Then you got others that don't care, and that's fine too. That's just not their interest. But so that's why I've done this channel. Some do it, I think, maybe to hype it up and tornadoes in Oklahoma City today or wherever. And you know I try to get your attention sometimes on this, but my channel is about education, really, and keeping you informed about the weather, and kind of low key. I'm not real high. I don't get all, you know. I don't know how your weather for men are. When I lived in Oklahoma City, we had some. Yeah, what was his name? Not Gary England. He was the. There was this new guy that come in. I won't say his name, but he came in a brand new guy, just all big ego. He was really good though. I'm not going to say his name. I can't remember. He's on one of the news. He's still there as far as I know, but yeah, they kind of hype it up, you know. And that's what they do nowadays. They hype it up to get ratings, and that's great. I don't have any problem against that. But that's just not what I do. I'm just here to kind of let you know, keep it low key. And so yeah, that's my presentation. So anyways, I've talked a lot here, so I just want to say, like I try to do every day, I appreciate each and every one of you for watching and subscribing and liking this stuff, viewing it. And if you haven't liked or subscribed, please do so. Invite your friends, tell them about me, especially your kids or grandkids. But like I always say, always kind of review it before you let your kids let loose on it, because I might slip out a SHIT word. That seems to be my word that I usually slip out. Today I was good. I'm usually pretty good. I would say most of the time, 80% of the time, I'm not saying anything. Maybe 90%. I know there's been a couple videos where I slipped, depending on what I was talking about. But I've been good today. I don't think anything slipped out that I know of. So I'm not cussing like a sailor. So, anyways, hey, I appreciate y'all, and you guys have a great evening, and we'll talk to you on Friday. Wixman Ray out.